Hello friends, welcome back. This is Dr. C.S. Rajoria from Engineering College Bikaner. So today we'll be continuing with the belt and rope drives and we'll be studying today about centrifugal tension in the belt, condition for maximum power transmission and introduction and ratio of driving tension in V belt. So after the completion of this lecture, you will be able to understand all these terms which are given here. So let us start with centrifugal tension. I hope that you all must have come up with this terminology and the meaning of centrifugal force, so we can easily correlate centrifugal tension. So in the context of belt, since the belt continuously runs over a pulley, therefore some centrifugal force is caused, and the effect of this force is to increase the tension in both tight as well as slack sides, and the tension caused by therefore centrifugal force is called as centrifugal tension. So we can express this centrifugal tension as Tc is equal to mv square, where m is the mass of the belt in kg and v is the linear velocity of the belt in meter per second. So when the centrifugal tension is taken into account, then total tension in the tight side will be equal to, let us say, Tt1 is equal to T1 plus Tc. That means we have added this Tc in the maximum tension, that is tension on the tight side. And similarly, the total tension on the slack side is Tt2, that is T2 plus Tc. So it is worth noting that at a speed more than 10 meter per second, the centrifugal tension becomes significant. So obviously, when we are working with higher speed systems, pulleys, and just like other machineries which are running at about 10 meter per second, then we have to, and we must add centrifugal tension. There is one more important thing that we will be discussing today is the condition for maximum power transmission. So we'll be deriving a relationship for this. So we have already known about the power transmission in the belt drive, that is P is equal to T1 minus T2 into V, where we know that T1 is tension in the tight side, T2 is the tension in the slack side, and V is the velocity of the belt. We also know that the ratio of tension T1 by T2 is equal to e raised power mu theta. From this we can have a value of T2, an expression for T2. So we can readily transfer this in this equation of power transmission and have a generalized term, that is T1 Vc, where T1 and V are there, and this is for C. That's a C is equal to 1 minus 1 upon e raised power mu theta. It's very simple. This is only mathematics here. So we also know that the maximum tension, that is T, is the sum of T1 plus Tc. That means T1 is equal to T minus Tc, where T is the maximum tension which the belt can be subjected in newtons. We can express this in SI units as Newton. Then Tc is the centrifugal tension in newtons. So we just substitute this equation, the value of T1. So we'll get the expression of P, that is power, is equal to T minus Tc into V into C. The basic purpose, you see, is just to bring this uh, expression for power in terms of velocity, so that it may be differentiated to get the condition for maximum power transmission, because we know that the power is directly connected with velocity. So for maximum power, differentiate this expression with respect to V and equate with 0. So you'll get the final term as T is equal to 3 times Tc. That means from this we can have a very useful and important deduction, that the power transmitted is maximum. When power is maximum, one third of the maximum tension is absorbed as centrifugal tension. So you just see this one third of the maximum tension is absorbed as centrifugal tension. So this shows that how important this term is at higher speeds. Again, we know that T1 is equal to T minus Tc. We have already seen this. So we can have that Tc is equal to T by 3. And from this we can find T1 also if maximum T is given. Or if we are able to find out this T, then we can find out T1 also. And similarly, we can find the velocity, and that will come out to be under root T upon 3 times m. Okay, so now let us discuss one simple problem. This problem is a very common problem, very often asked in the exams also, and there might be some different values, but the approach will be the same. So let us discuss about the problem. So the problem is like two pulleys, that is one is 450 mm, bigger pulley is 450 mm, the smaller is 200 mm in diameter. These are parallel on parallel shafts, and this is 1.95 meter apart. That means X is 1.95, and this is connected by a cross belt. So you must note this cross belt drive. So what we want to know, what the it is required to find is this length of the belt and the angle of contact between the belt and each pulley. Again, what power can be transmitted when the larger pulley rotates, and when n is given 200 revolution per minute and maximum permissible tension is given like 1 kilonewton, and the coefficient of friction is 0.25. So let us try to solve this problem. So these are the given data, just like d, then you can convert it into r, and so that we can easily find the length of the belt. Although you can find in terms of d also, so it's your convention what you find convenient. So this d1 has been converted. First of all, put all the units in SI form. So this is in millimeters, so you should put it in meters. Then R will be 0.225, R2 will be zero point 0.2 meters, zero point 0.1 meter, sorry, R2. X is obviously 1.95 meter, and all are given. So from this we can find out the velocity. That is, velocity is obviously pi d1 n by 60. So this is the velocity of the driver shaft. Okay. Now length of the belt we know, we have already derived the formula, and this is the standard formula for length of the belt, that is pi r1 plus r2 plus 2x plus r1 plus r2 this whole square by x. This is very simple formula. All the things are given. You can find out the length, and the final length comes out to be 4.975. That is around 5 meter. Then further, we have to find out the angle of contact. So angle of contact is arc of contact. That means the belt, how much angle is the belt connected to the pulley. So let us assume that theta is the angle of contact between the belt and each pulley. So for cross belt drive, friends, you must know that this theta will be equal to 180 plus 2 alpha, where this alpha is the angle from the vertical, and this alpha can be found out as sine alpha r1 plus r2 by x. This we have already done in the derivation when we were doing the derivation for finding out the length. So from this we can easily find alpha. Okay, we put just this value of alpha in 180 degrees plus 2 alpha, you will get the value in degree, and this degree can be, you have to convert it into radians, so just multiply it by pi by 180 to convert it into radians. So this 199.2 is converted into radians, and this comes out to be 3.477 radians. Now power transmitted, we know that power transmitted is equal to T1 minus T2 into V. So we know T1, we are left with finding out T2. So we use the formula for ratio of tension in the in the belt drive, and this is like T1 by T2 is equal to e raised to power mu theta, or you just find it in terms of log also. It is your convention. So the basic aim is to finding out T2, and you will find T2 as 419 Newton. So all the terms are known, T1, T2, we just replace this in this formula, and we'll get the value of power transmitted as 2740, that is 2.74 kilowatt. So this is very simple approach, is very similar, only values can change, but this is very often asked in the examination. Now, in power transmission, there are V-belt drives also. These are very useful drives, and these V-belts are mostly used where great amount of power is to be transmitted, and when the two pulleys are very near to each other, that means the distance is not so far as like in flat belt drives. So here there is one more term, that is wedging action. So wedging action and transmitted torque will be more if the groove angle of the pulley is small. So actually this is a V-belt drive. So there is an angle, or we call it as wedge, and this wedging action will create some friction, and this will be responsible for what we call as wedging action. So here, smaller groove angle will require more force to pull the belt. Okay, so the wedging action transfer torque will be more if the groove angle of the pulley is small. When the groove angle is small, this is more. But there is one problem, that the small groove angle will require more force to pull the belt out of the groove, which will result in loss of power and excessive belt wear due to friction and heat. So, although there is an advantage due to smaller angle, but there is one disadvantage also. So we have to make a compromise between the two, hence a selective groove angle is a compromise between the two, and we usually take the angle between 32 to 38 to compensate for that. Okay, so another thing is that the V belt are made of fabric and cord molded in rubber and covered with fabric and rubber. Okay, so this is the structure of the V belt. You can see here. huh? This is the rubber inside, and there is a cord above it, and then it is covered with fabric, and then another layer of fabric and rubber cover. Okay, so this is a cross section of V belt drive. Another cross section of V grooved pulley. This is a V groove pulley. Multiple grooves are there. You can see here. So here one thing must be noted, that a clearance must be provided at the bottom of the groove in order to prevent touching to the bottom. So here alternatively we can say that the effect of groove is to increase the frictional grip of the V-belt on the pulley, and thus to reduce the tendency of slipping. So in order to have a good grip on the pulleys, the V-belt is in contact with the side faces of the groove and not at the bottom. Okay. So the power is transmitted by wedging action between the belt and the V groove in the pulleys. Another thing, that in order to increase the power output, several V belts may be operated side by side like this. Several V belts may be operated. Now coming to the advantages of V belt, the V belt drive gives compactness. Obviously, when the two shafts are near, then this gives us a compact system. Okay, so another most valuable advantage is that the drive is positive. So because the slip between the belt and the pulley groove is negligible. Another advantage is that the V belts are endless. So there are no joints. So there is trouble due to joint in flat belts. This is not encountered in V belt. Therefore, the drive is smooth. Okay. It provides longer life, that is 3 to 5 years. Normally, it's a very good life. It can be easily installed and removed. This is one more advantage. And the operation is quiet. It is very quiet, so not noisy operation is there, and the belt have the ability to cushion the shock. This is very important advantage we are harnessing from the V belt. It cushions the shock when the machine is started. High velocity ratio maximum up to 10 may be obtained. The wedging action of the belt in the groove gives high value of limiting ratio of tension. So therefore the power transmitted by V belts is more than the flat belts for the same coefficient of friction, arc of contact and allowable tension in the belts. Okay. Another thing that I must tell you that the V belts may be operated in either direction with tight side of the belt at the top or the bottom. The center line may be horizontal, vertical or inclined. Okay, this is one more advantage. Now we see the disadvantage also. So V belt drive cannot be used with large center distances. Okay, then V belts are not so durable as flat belt. These are durability is an issue here. And the construction of pulleys, as you see, there are several layers in the V belt, so it is complicated. Okay, and since V belts are subjected to certain amount of creep, therefore these are not suitable for constant speed application. This is really very problematic when we deal with constant speed applications such as synchronous machines and timing devices. The belt life is greatly influenced with temperature changes, improper belt tension, and mismatching of belt length. Obviously, we should not operate any machine when one belt is damaged, because if one belt is replaced and putting other old belts with it, then there will be a mismatch and the uh, operation will not be proper in V belt. The centrifugal tension prevents the use of V belts at speed below 5 meter per second and above 50 meter per second. This is another disadvantage. Now we come to one important reduction, that is the ratio of driving tensions for V belt. As we have done for the flat belt, the similar approach may be applied to find out the ratio of driving tension in the V belt. So this is the cross section of V belt. You can see here R1 and R. R1 is the normal reaction between the belt and the sides of the groove, where R is the total reaction in the plane of the groove. Twice of beta is, let us say, the angle of the groove, and mu be the coefficient of friction between the sides of the groove. So we can resolve the vertical reaction, that is R. This is very simple, we have already done, and we come up with R1 as R upon twice sine beta. And we know that the frictional force is 2 times mu R1. Why 2 times mu R1? Because one frictional force is applied here and this is here. So we have 2 times frictional force at two faces. So simply we get mu times R cosec beta. So when we consider a small portion of belt subtending an angle delta theta, for getting the ratio of tension, we assume a small section delta theta. At the center, the tension on one side will be T and other will be T plus delta T, as we have done it already in flat belt drive. Now, proceeding as finding tension in flat belt drive, we get a frictional resistance of equal to mu r cosec beta instead of mu r that we have got when we were deriving for flat belt drive. Thus, the relation between T1 and T2 for V belt drive will be is log times T1 by T2 mu theta cosec beta, or T1 by T2 is equal to e raised to power mu theta cosec beta. This is obtained. I'll be showing you how this has came. So let us see that this is the cross section where this is R1, I normal reaction. This angle is beta, you see, and this R. This R is 2 twice R1 sine beta. You just see this vertical component is R1 sine beta, and this will be R1 cos beta. So this is the small angle delta theta is applied here, where this 2 times mu R1 is the frictional force. Okay, mu R1 and 2 R1 sine beta. This is the total reaction. So let's say T1 is the tension on the tight side and T2 is the slack side. So here T will be applied and here T plus delta T will be applied. Now we can simply resolve the vertical and horizontal forces. So first resolving the forces in horizontal direction, this is 2 mu r1, then this t cos delta theta by 2, then this is applying in opposite direction, so this will be minus t plus delta t cos delta theta by 2 is equal to 0. So you just see here that if we consider this delta theta be very small, so this cos delta theta by 2 will be equal to 1. So just put it as 1 and you will get delta t is equal to twice of mu r1, or r1 will be equal to delta t upon twice of mu. Okay. Now we can resolve the forces vertically also. So in the vertical direction, this is 2 r1 sine beta. Then this will be applied in downward opposite to this. So this t times sine delta theta by 2, and here this is also applied in opposite direction. So this will be minus t plus delta t sine delta theta by 2. It's very simple mathematics. So you just resolve and then you just see that delta theta is very small. So sine delta theta by 2 will be equal to delta theta by 2. So replace these values, you will get this 2 r1 sin beta minus t delta theta by 2 minus t delta theta by 2. This is 2 times here and minus delta theta by 2. So if this delta t and delta theta are already small, so multiplication will be very small. So this may be negligible. So you will find, you just simplify it, you will find that r1 will be equal to t delta theta upon 2 sin beta, or 2 delta t delta theta by 2 cosec beta. Simple. Now we just see from equation 1 and 2. So this is equation 1 and 2. Just take the value of r1 and replace it here. So you will find on simplified rearrangement as delta t by t is equal to mu delta theta cosec beta. Now you have to integrate between some proper limits here. So delta t by t will be integrated between t1 and t2, and this mu delta theta cosec beta, this delta theta will be integrated between 0 to theta. So this integration will give you log of t1 by t2 mu theta cosec beta, and further simplifying it will give you the ratio t1 by t2 is equal to e raised power mu theta cosec beta. Very simple. So you can do it very easily. This is very often asked in the examination to derive the expression for this. So I hope you will be benefited with this derivation and lecture. Thanks for listening.